Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Golden, and I will be joining you in September to speak about foresight and leadership. So I wanted to just give a quick introduction to myself and introduce one concept that futurists use to help organizational leaders imagine how the future might be different. So just a little background about myself. I have two hats these days. One is as a professional futurist, where I work with organizations and help them bring more structure and discipline in thinking about long-term change and a market transition or a shift in society. And then I also run an after-school program for elementary age school students in Brooklyn, New York. So straddling two different worlds, but all focused on helping people understand how we can better prepare for the future. So during our session, we're going to unpack what it means to think like a futurist, how foresight can be used as the front end of your innovation or strategic planning processes. And then we're going to dive into a few themes that we think are going to have an impact on the future of nonprofit organizations and the communities that you serve. So that's kind of the quick background. And then I just wanted to introduce one concept here related to how futurists approach change. So one of the concepts that futurists use is this notion of four futures. So we can imagine all the different stories we tell and we've read about or heard about in the world, whether it's in a book or a movie or a organizational plan. It tends to fall into one of four archetypal futures, right? There's a certain type of arc. And the first of those four futures is what we call continued growth or continuation. This is where you look out at the world and you say, as the organization, we're going to be basically the same in a few years. We're just kind of sailing along and the wind is blowing our sails forward. And there's not much change ahead, right? That's kind of the first archetype. It's kind of steady state continuation. Then there's this notion of disciplined or constrained futures. This is where you look out and you say, as an organization, we will continue to do what we do today, but there will be stronger headwinds. There may be new regulations. It may be more difficult to recruit and retain the right talent within the organization. So it's a future where things are largely the same. They're just more constrained. So you can imagine, in the everyday world, Microsoft was a dominant operating system around its Windows program. And then that was basically taken out from underneath their feet for a few years when the mobile operating systems emerged. So they had a constrained future. The third archetypal story is what we call transformed. And this is where we look out and we say in 5 or 10 years, either an entity within the organization, a group, a unit, or the organization as a whole will be doing something completely different. We will be transformed. So you can think about the US intelligence agencies before, during the Cold War versus after, before 9/11 versus after. Its operating environment was transformed. Then the final archetypal future is what we call decline collapse. This is where we look out at the future and we say, our ship is too big to turn, and we are essentially managing the decline and unable to change, right? So it's kind of a decline or collapse scenario. And I like to imagine the CEOs in 2008 of BlackBerry, Motorola, and Nokia saying, what does Apple and Google know about the phone business? So your job as leaders is to be able to imagine and tell the story of all four futures, right? Your job is to be able to see signals of change in the world that we can identify today and imagine how those signals might unfold across all four of these futures. So as much as we may not like to imagine our own demise, it's important that we do so that we're better able to identify those milestones and key indicators if they appear and take appropriate action. So that is the four futures concept. And then one final one that's a little bit more applied is this notion of how do we orient our teams in terms of skill sets and mindsets so that they're prepared for a wide range of futures. Within the world of HR, there is often a distinction made between an individual that is I-shaped, that they have depth of expertise in a particular area, versus a T-shaped individual who has, again, that depth of expertise, but kind of crosses that I to form a T, using a broader range of skill sets and mindsets that are better able to contribute to an organization's long-term sustainability. So how do we imagine and describe that short list of T-shaped individuals based off of our conversation in September about how the future might be different? So that is a little bit about me, and I'm very excited to see everyone in September. Until then, I hope everyone enjoys those final few weeks of summer, and I look forward to being together here shortly. Thank you.